That night, amidst the celebration of someone else's love, I witnessed the end of my own. And what I did next would ensure she would never forget the price of that betrayal. Life, at times, places us at crossroads where duty clashes with desire. For me, William, that moment arrived abruptly, with a call that would change the course of a planned weekend. A crucial business meeting, moved up, demanded my immediate presence on another continent. I, recently promoted to a position of great responsibility, could not afford to miss it. It was a matter of future, not just for the company, but for our own stability. My wife, Olivia, did not receive the news with the same understanding. Her friend's wedding, a long-awaited event where she was to be the maid of honor, seemed to crumble before her eyes. The frustration was palpable, the disappointment, bitter. I tried to explain the magnitude of the commitment, the billions at stake, the hundreds of jobs that depended on the success of that negotiation. I promised to make it up to her, to shower her with affection and attention upon my return, but her words were cutting, her anger an impassable wall. Tension settled in our home. The heavy silence, her refusal to look at me, my banishment to the guest room. That coldness was unusual, a subtle premonition of something I couldn't decipher. I tried to calm her, but the door to our bedroom remained closed, and the distance between us grew with each passing minute. I knew how much that wedding meant to Olivia. The bride, a longtime friend, had gone through terrible trials. Her ex-husband had abandoned her at a moment of extreme vulnerability, and her recovery was an arduous journey. That wedding was a symbol of overcoming, of a new beginning, and Olivia, with her unwavering loyalty, was there to celebrate every step. My absence was, for her, an unforgivable failure. That morning, before leaving, I tried one last time to break the ice. A farewell kiss, a hug, a last goodbye. But the door remained sealed. I left words of love and promises to call, while the car waited for me, taking me away, with a lump in my throat and the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The absence of her messages, her calls, confirmed my worst fears. She was furious, and I knew reconciliation would require monumental effort. The trip abroad was long, and with each passing hour, the lack of news from Olivia weighed more heavily. My messages and calls remained unanswered, a silence that echoed the anger I had felt before leaving. Concerned, I reached out to our daughters, Sophia and Laura, who were in college. I explained the situation, asking them to check on their mother. They, always thoughtful, promised to do so, and their loving voices were a small comfort amidst my unease. Upon arriving at the hotel in Germany, the first call I made was to my CEO. The news I received was a shock. The meeting had been canceled due to a family tragedy at the partner company. A wave of relief and, at the same time, frustration washed over me. The trip, the conflict with Olivia, all for nothing. But a new idea emerged, an impulse for redemption. Immediately, I booked a flight back to Chicago, determined to surprise Olivia at Clara's wedding. I calculated I would arrive in time to see her, to show my support, to clear up the misunderstanding. It would be the perfect gesture to win back her affection. The ballroom was buzzing when I arrived, shortly after 9 in the evening. The loud music, the laughter, the dancing, and the chatter of hundreds of guests created a vibrant atmosphere. I was exhausted from the journey, but the anticipation of reuniting with Olivia propelled me forward. With so many people, locating her wasn't easy. I grabbed a drink at the bar, a double whiskey, and began scanning the room, searching for her familiar face. As my eyes swept across the crowd, my mind traveled back in time, to the beginning of our story. Olivia was 5 years older than me, and when we met, she was recently divorced. Her ex-husband, Ethan, had been unfaithful, a devastating blow that left her heartbroken and financially ruined. She, who dreamed of a family and a full life, saw her dreams shattered by his dishonesty. I fell in love with Olivia the moment I saw her. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her resilience and the depth of her soul that captivated me. I helped her get back on her feet, heal the wounds of the past, rebuild her life. For 19 years, we built a home, raised our daughters with love and dedication. Our union was based on trust, loyalty, and open communication. I had always been vocal about my aversion to infidelity, and she, having experienced the pain of betrayal, seemed to share that conviction. I admired her strength for leaving Ethan, and our relationship was a testament to our faith in each other. At 44, Olivia was still stunning, and I, 5 years her junior, maintained an enviable physical shape. Our intimate life was solid, and the age difference was never an issue. Sophia and Laura thrived in college, full of plans for the future. We were a happy family, a marriage that seemed unshakable. Until, amidst the joy of that celebration, my eyes found her. Olivia was sitting alone, not with a friend, but with Ethan, her ex-husband. I knew Ethan was close to Clara, the bride, but his presence, and especially without his current wife, surprised me. The fatigue from the trip mixed with a growing curiosity. I watched them. Their interaction seemed too intimate for ex-spouses. I decided to step back, observe from afar, before approaching. And then, the world began to crumble. The scene unfolded before my eyes, a slow-motion nightmare. Olivia, my wife, the woman with whom I, William, had shared almost 2 decades of life, was there, at the center of someone else's love celebration, giving herself to another. At first, it was the dance, a fluid, intimate movement that made me hold my breath. Their bodies moved with a disturbing familiarity, a closeness that I, her husband, hadn't seen in days. The music, once festive, became a somber soundtrack to my growing agony. Then came the kiss. Not a casual, greeting kiss, but a prolonged locking of lips, charged with a passion that hit me like lightning. My world, which until then had seemed solid, shattered into 1,000 pieces. Shame and fury bubbled in my chest, a poison spreading through every vein. I watched her flirt, laugh, and then, in a move that tore my soul, their hands intertwined, and they moved away to a more secluded corner of the hall. From where I stood, I could see the intimacy deepen. His hands on her body, hers, daringly, under the table. This was not an innocent flirtation, nor a one-night mistake. It was blatant betrayal, exposed in the light of an event celebrating loyalty. Rage consumed me. The desire to explode, to confront them, to destroy that farce was almost uncontrollable. But then, my father's words, an echo of ancient wisdom, resonated in my mind. Son, men of value do not tolerate disrespect. Respect yourself. In that instant, a chilling calm washed over me. There would be no shouting, no scenes. Dignity would be my weapon. I took out my phone, the cold, impersonal lens becoming the silent witness to her infamy. I captured every detail, every touch, every kiss, the irrefutable proof of the end. And then, with steady fingers, I typed the message that would seal our fate. Guess what, darling? My meeting was canceled, and I came back early. Looks like you're in great hands tonight. I'll be heading home. I imagine you'll be spending the night with Ethan. Now I understand why you've been avoiding my calls and messages. Have fun, and may our marriage rest in peace. I'll be gone by the time you get back tomorrow. I sent it, and I watched. The glow of her phone screen in the dark corner. Her hand reached out, her face, previously lit by intoxication and flirtation, contorting in a chilling shock. The brutal realization of what had happened hit her. At that exact moment, as she tried to process reality, I turned. I left the hall without looking back, the sound of her voice calling me, a distant lament that I chose to ignore. I got into the car, and as she screamed my name, I just shook my head, my gaze cold, and drove away. The car cut through the night, leaving behind not only the ballroom, but also the wreckage of a 19-year marriage. My phone vibrated incessantly, a chorus of pleas and justifications that I refused to hear. Her words, "William, please wait," echoed, but the image of her in another man's arms, especially his, was a poison that prevented any compassion. After hours of flying and the coldness that preceded my departure, the sight of that betrayal sealed my heart. I ignored dozens of calls and messages, until a single, icy reply was all she received from me. Forget it. I'm thriving. My kids are in college, everything paid for. I'm free to do what I want. I'm still young enough to start over. The drive home was a purgatory of reflection and pain, but also of a strange clarity. I stopped at a roadside diner, and between sips of coffee and bites of bacon, I made a decision that would change everything. Back then, social media was the stage for life's declarations. I updated my status from married and happy to single and available. And then, with a click that reverberated across countless screens, I posted the photos I had taken, Olivia and Ethan, in their brazen kiss, his hand on her breast. The caption was an epitaph for our past. Olivia is getting an upgrade and reuniting with her ex-husband, while I'm back in the game. It might have been immature, but it was the raw, unvarnished truth. Dawn found me back home, and the phone, a portal to chaos. Hundreds of messages, from Olivia, from her parents, from friends. I ignored her calls, but answered her father's. With a firm voice, I told him the truth. James, there were no signs of dissatisfaction, but infidelity was the final blow. I cannot tolerate this disrespect. I made it clear that divorce was inevitable, that the house would be sold, and that she would now have to bear the consequences of her choices. The image of the photos, which I showed him, silenced any attempt at defense. In the days that followed, my life transformed. I moved into a company apartment, inaccessible to her. My daughters, though shocked, understood my position. I taught them a harsh but necessary lesson. Infidelity has a price, and mutual respect is the foundation of any relationship. While Olivia tried, in vain, to reach me, I opened myself to a new chapter. Social media, once a stage for my pain, became an invitation to the future. Younger women, full of life, emerged, and a month later, I met Emily. She was the personification of the joy and energy I had lost. The divorce was a painful but fair process. The house, sold, yielded little, and I ensured that what remained went to her. My lawyers fought for a share of my future earnings, but the court ruled based on my current income. I paid her alimony for 2 years, enough for her to get back on her feet. Olivia moved to another city, joined a support group, and eventually went to live with Ethan. She was never the same. The anger and selfishness of that night would haunt her. 3 years later, on our daughter's graduation day, fate brought us together again. Olivia, now 47, looked aged, while I stood beside Emily, 28, pregnant with our second daughter, and with our firstborn, Joanna, 1 year old. The difference between our lives was striking. Olivia tried to apologize, expressing regret for what she had lost. I forgave her, not for her sake, but for mine. I thanked her for the good years, for the daughters we had, and for the lesson her betrayal taught me. Without it, I would never have found Emily and built the family that now filled me. In the following decade, our encounters were limited to family events. Olivia remained with Ethan, a relationship of convenience, without the passion or depth we once had. She watched my new family grow, my younger daughters flourish, and remorse consumed her. In a twist of fate, and with the fortune my stock options yielded, I bought back the old family home. It became a sanctuary of new memories, filled with the joy of Emily and our daughters. Olivia, in turn, found a different purpose. She volunteered at a women's shelter, transforming her regret into helping others. It wasn't the life she had dreamed of, but it was meaningful. As for me, William, life taught me a valuable lesson: self-worth and the importance of not tolerating disrespect. I built a richer life than I ever imagined, surrounded by love and purpose. And the old house, once a battlefield of broken hearts, became the home of a second chance, a testament that sometimes an end is just the beginning of something much greater. Stories like William's remind us of the complexity of human relationships. If you value this kind of content, which makes us think and feel, leave a like. Join our community by subscribing to the channel, and help us build a space where truth and emotion always find a voice.